What is going on, everybody, and on here? And happy snowy Sunday if you're in the Northeast or I guess Mid Atlantic, um, based on this storm. But one of the things I've been fairly outspoken about is the fact that TCG player market price, specifically for Bandai games and Riftbound, they always seem to underrepresent what the market price is, and it really creates downward pressure on the booster boxes themselves, and I'm just talking specifically booster boxes because I really pay attention to this on a day-to-day basis. But it also creates an artificially low number where there's a lot of people that list items using mass price. Mass price will list at market. So there's flaws in the system where the market price is calculating lower than the low list. Folks that use the TCG Player Market Price Tracker then low, they're then undercutting the low list by, you know, on occasion a relatively large margin, and the entire system gets messed up. So I've made a couple comments about the foreign language cards, shipping, and things. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to take a couple hours. I have nothing to do on Sunday. I'm going to dig in, and I'm going to see if I can or reverse engineer how the TCG player market price is calculated. And after about 5 minutes, I realized it's far more simple than what I thought. So what we have here on the right, and this was a screen grab that I took when I did this earlier today. And this is GDO1, which is New Type Rising Gundam booster boxes. And one of the things forever is the reason why this booster box continued to remain at a suppressed price on TCG Player is because TCG market price was perpetually lower than the lowest list. So you'd have a bunch of idiot stores that would come in, they would mass price things at market price or list things at market price, never look to see how it priced or listed in relation to low list. And we basically have this downward spiral of the low list getting undercut for the benefit of market price, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. And generally, the market price of TCG Player works very, very well. And I'm sure some of the folks from TCG Player are going to watch this. I'm going to give you guys some pointers, just some recommendations. I'll see you guys in 10 days. So happy to discuss then. But I think there's a lot of opportunities here, and really a lot of lost opportunities on the TCG Player side, because I'm not sure what level of, I guess it's probably the wrong word, but business savvy folks have looked at this on the programming side. But let me walk through it just very briefly here. So this is the sales snapshot, and we have all of the sales here. We have the quantity, the price. Here we have the foreign language card. So this is the perfect sample size or snapshot of what we're trying to prove. Here in the background, we have the market price as listed by TCG Player, which is $215.93. Any of you who shop on TCG Player or sell on TCG Player, you should be aware that when you buy an item, there is a lag time between when you close a transaction, when the credit card's charged, the payment goes through, and when the item shows up on this sales list here, and then in turn when it's impacted on the market price. So there is a lag time on both. I kind of think of it as two different dominoes. I'm sure the TCG Player folks have it much tighter than that. But the list of sales at any point in time is not always reflective of the sales that are exactly the market. So I try to do this for Riftbound Origins, or I'm sorry, I did it for OP14, and I was off by like 13 cents on my calculation. And I think that's basically because there were sales that were factored in that were either on the sales snapshot that didn't quite hit the market price algorithm. So what I did here was I went backwards and I started listing the sales. So here you can see two sales here, 215.16, 215.16, did the extended price. I will talk about D&E in a second. But as I went down through this, these yellow items are the foreign language boxes. So I took these out as I was playing with the numbers, because it does in fact seem like anything with a photo is excluded from market price. I believe in some point in the past they were not, but that's fixed. So as far as I'm concerned, going through this test, those are no longer an issue. Now there's obviously a market psychology problem that when you open up an item and there's 17 listings of boxes, it's $60 and the market price is $250. It's absolutely misleading. There is market psychology. Quite honestly, there should be a separate SKU for those foreign language boxes. It's not perfect. It does blow out the database or the tables that they use for the platform itself. But quite honestly, I don't think these foreign language boxes have any place in English listing. It's the same with like prismatic evolutions ETBs and people listing the dividers and the sleeves and the box itself. That garbage doesn't belong anywhere in here, in my opinion. I know if I'm TCGPlayer, a sale is a sale is a sale. I don't care what it is. I get a royalty or a fee, whatever. We're going to get into a bunch of items at the end of this where they can really supercharge their fees here while cleaning up the marketplace and making it far less confusing. So as we go down here, we see some real weird things. So 189.99, 189 or 184.98, 164.22. So if any of you guys pay any attention, this is really, really prevalent with Magic the Gathering and collector boxes right after Amazon ships them to all the buyers. You'll see a booster box, and I'll give you guys a perfect example. Edge of Eternities was a $375 to $395 booster box. All of a sudden, when all those Walmart boxes were sent out, there were a lot of listings for $333 plus $24.99 for shipping. $24.99, I believe, is the preset amount for a large package, $14.99 for a medium package. Those were fresh accounts, really no sales. And quite honestly, that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing these low lists. These guys could be getting them from Bandai directly. But it's effectively skewing the market because the overall algorithm here does not factor in shipping, which is its own separate crazy animal. The fact that we don't have standardized shipping on here when we have it in other platforms, it's a travesty. Again, we'll get to that in a second. Scrolling down, we have items here with $204. This is a $9.99 shipping one. But when we get to 61 sales, here's the aggregate. This is the extended price. So this is just quantity times price. Now we take the overall. This is just a simple weighted average. The total dollars of sales divided by 61 boxes. And we are at $215.93. $215.93. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that fucking easy. It's the last 61 sales. It could be 60. Could be the fact that one of them hasn't fallen off and new sales come on. Again, like I said, there is a lag in how long it takes from a sale to happen, for the sale to show up on the listing, and then for the market price to calculate. I've tested that firsthand specifically with this box. But this is where I want to get into where the problems really lie. And right here, this market price at $215.93, this is understating what the true market price is fairly substantially. So if I go through and I adjust all of these items for shipping, and again, I'm going off memory here. These $200 ones, there were $14.99 shipping. Some of these are fine. This $189, this was $24.99 shipping. This is $24.99 shipping. This 161 here, I think was $49.99 shipping or $50. But this all gets us back to where the market price was at that point in time. And if I'm TCGPlayer, I'm going to look at this and say, well, they pay fees on the shipping price anyway, so why do I care? Well, the reason that you care is the algorithm excludes shipping price. So if everybody in the world listed this at $164.23 with $50 shipping, yes, you're calculating your fee. But anybody who's going to list at market price is now going to list it at $114.23 plus shipping, plus $50 shipping. So folks that offer free shipping are going to list at an artificially depressed market price, which is costing you money. So when I adjust for all this, and this is really what the adjusted price would be if you include shipping, now your true market price is $222.49 as opposed to $215.93. Now, what that does is that's basically just in these 61 sales, it's $42.98 of fee reduced because you're not factoring in shipping. And again, you're losing out on fees on the folks that are pegging items to market price because the market price excludes shipping. And folks are just saying, hey, this is the market price, I'm gonna list it. So you're effectively losing out on 3% of your fee value because you exclude shipping from this calculation, which in my opinion is flawed. And again, this is kind of FP&A, a little bit of advanced FP&A, financial planning analysis for folks in the space. So there's ways to eliminate confusion, market manipulation, and increase fee revenue. And the first thing that anybody can do is if they really wanted to, they could list items at $100 of shipping, cut the market price way down. They could technically sell it to themselves. They could pay the fee for the benefit of having a reduced market price and just wait for the idiot stores to hit mass price. And now you're buying stuff way under market, and it's going to make up for the small fee that you have to pay to manipulate the market. Now, it's something that's traded very, very heavily, like One Piece. It would take a lot of that. I'm sure most of you guys have seen the listings that have like $50 of shipping, $100 of shipping. That is strictly for the purpose of manipulating this TCGPlayer market price algorithm. So standardizing shipping costs. Everybody in the world has standardized shipping. The fact that TCGPlayer does not, it's antiquated, and I understand the need for flexibility back in the day, but quite honestly, they should standardize shipping, and maybe it's $1.31 for a plain white envelope, so you're 70 some cents a stamp, you're another 5 cents for an envelope, 3 cents for an envelope. You can't really factor the labor in because everybody values their own labor differently. And then that should just be the cost, and everybody has to pay that. And that way you don't get this confusion. And the problem is not only do people get confused with the different shipping, the mass price tool gets confused because sometimes it factors it in depending on your role, sometimes it doesn't, and you're mass pricing items that aren't close to market. So TCGPlayer, you guys are costing yourselves a significant amount of fees over all of the transactions in the marketplace because you don't have standardized shipping. Because people listing at market price are going to list below low list, they're going to list below where a transaction normally would have occurred, which is costing you 10.75% or 2.5% more if you're pro, or if you're direct, obviously a lot more than that, because the algorithm is broken and you don't have standardized shipping. The second item here, and I know you guys just did this or this just went through for direct, you need to increase the minimum list to 40 cents. The reason for that is if you're going to charge 3% or 2.75%, whatever it is, plus 30 cents, there's a lot of people that list cards at a penny plus 131 shipping. They're upside down. They're upside down. I know they're upside down. I think you need to protect people from themselves because there are a lot of people out there that they don't do job costing. They don't do the math. And you want those folks to stick around and be successful. So there is a sort of a, I guess, moral compass might be the term to protect folks from themselves. The second thing that it does is when you increase the minimum fee to 40 cents, all of a sudden you're increasing your fee, your 10.7% on the minimum sale fairly substantially. I mean, you're going from basically nothing to 6 cents. And again, when you're collecting effectively a royalty for matching the buyer and the seller in the volume game, basis points matter. Whether it's 1, whether it's 2, whether it's 30, all that stuff matters, and it adds up over a period of time. And we are talking about multiples on the valuation of the business, and a 20 multiple on an extra 50 bips of fees. We're talking big time money. So these small little areas where pennies can be shaved, and I don't say that with a negative connotation, it really adds up. So the fact that you guys haven't done this yet, you need to do it. And then lastly, we've seen a significant influx of scamming, fraud. I'm sure TCGPlayer is far more into the weeds than most of us are. A ton of new seller accounts with no no feedback, selling obvious items that are skimmable. For example, you have no feedback. You're selling EBO 300 market. Some sucker's going to buy it. You ship a brick, it gets delivered. You hope you get paid before the buyer gets the item. You close the bank account, withdraw the funds, and then TCGPlayer gets screwed. And that's not even talking about the just 2.25% or whatever the insurance cost is for TCGPlayer between fraud, returns, lost mail, all of that stuff. I mentioned this last year at Gamma. There needs to be a monthly fee. Just call it $9.99 a month for seller accounts, just to create a more secure buying experience for the buyers. And again, some of it is protecting buyers from themselves in this instance, because look, not everybody's a sophisticated buyer, an educated buyer. Everybody started day one at TCGPlayer at some point, day one in their experience, where you don't know what's up from down. And really what that does is it does help to limit the number of folks who do not have the best intentions of the transaction at TCGPlayer. And $9.99 a month, it's not a lot of money, but it does create a moat that if somebody just wants to come on here and scam, it's an extra step, it's extra money. They're putting up a credit card to pay stuff. It is an extra layer of fraud protection on both the TCGPlayer side for I call it insurance purposes, but you're basically guaranteeing the buyer and the seller aren't going to get screwed. And that in my mind, you're self-insuring those things, or you're reinsuring them through somebody else. I don't know. But it also creates a more positive buying experience for new buyers, where they're not going to get garbage from garbage sellers, because if the sellers can afford $10 a month, or they're willing to take that step, chances are they do have the best interest of the transaction in mind. They're not just trying to make a quick buck and screw somebody over. So anyway, guys, wanted to walk through that. So yeah, I was incorrect about having the foreign boxes included in the price point, but I was correct about the shipping having a very, very significant impact on the market price. And then that in turn, it's costing TCGPlayer fees, because a lot of folks are listing at market price. In fact, everybody I know who sells on the platform is listing at market price. They're not listing at low list. So in a lot of these items, you're just missing out on fees. So look, I think if these three things were rolled out at some point, A, they're super, super easy. B, they're all in the best interest of the shareholders of eBay/TCGPlayer. And C, they're really in the best interest of the buyers and the sellers on the platform. Who wants to buy a single for a penny with $1.31 shipping? You're going to get a card bent in half and a garbage envelope from somebody who's not going to be in business long, because they're not making money on that stuff. So anyway, guys, I thought this was interesting. I finally did the work on it. So, feel free to comment, disagree if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, and we're going to do the distro update a little bit later tonight. A lot of good stuff. It's super interesting. So we'll talk soon.